All right, let's bring in our next guest. She is the country director at WaterAid Nepal, Tripti Rai. She joins us now from Kathmandu. Tripti, good to have you on the show. It's a great story that we watched from Indonesia, but let's take a look at the general picture. One of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals is to provide clean drinking water for the entire planet by the end of this decade. But when you look at the situation, there are nearly 800 million people who don't have regular access to clean drinking water. So my question to you is, how far off are we off from this goal?
Yes, thank you so much for having WaterAid here. I'm very happy to share about our recent report, which we've just released, which is called Turn the Tide. And we're looking at this very challenge that you mentioned. So by 2030, are we going to be able to meet the SDG Goal 6? So far, whatever analysis and reviews of reports and experts we've seen, we are very much off the track. And one of the key reasons we feel is we are not able to accelerate quickly and fast enough to address some of the key barriers that people face all around the world, especially 1 in 10 people do not have access to clean drinking water. So accelerating actions is much needed.
Okay. Your organization has just written this report, Turning the Tide. Tell us, what do you think are some of the greatest obstacles, and where do you think the greatest need is?
Some of the greatest obstacles are really looking at addressing the key barriers that are still stopping people from getting access to clean drinking water, such a basic human right to be able to have safe water, which is essential for your well-being. Inequalities that are across the world, the lack of consistent long-term investment to meet the SDG 6 goals. For example, in countries like Nepal, we still have 50% of financing gap. So we need to really look at how do we galvanize more resources and to ensure that there is accountability and the political will to drive change to meet these goals much faster and to make sure that people have access. And as we are talking about World Water Day, also looking at what the climate change challenges mean for people's access to water and how this impacts people's lives are very crucial and urgent.
Your country, Nepal, is nestled in the Himalayas, which is one of the world's largest sources of fresh water. As this world changes with the climate crisis, talk to us about how your country will be affected.
Yes, so Nepal is 44th amongst some of the most vulnerable countries in the ranking of vulnerable countries. Just this morning, I was in an event where we were talking about World Water Day and how climate change is impacting even Nepal and the rich water resources that we have. We had scientific studies telling us that the glaciers are disappearing and we have more mountains without snow. So I think it's a huge challenge for a country like Nepal, which is very vulnerable to water scarcity, which is also vulnerable to natural disasters like the earthquakes in 2015. And now we are also looking at how a global pandemic, a health pandemic, can also affect people's health and well-being, and how water plays a key role in addressing such. So there are many actions needed. There are policy conversations and advocacy that need to happen. There is also a commitment to 2030 goals by the Nepal government. And there too, we feel that there is need for adequate resources, not just financing, but also human resources, the capacity to invest, and also look at how we can address the social and cultural barriers that affect people's access to water and sanitation.
Tripti Rai, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much live for us from Kathmandu.